crypto investors have been carefully watching updates for a spot Bitcoin ETF. The race to be the first one is heating up. But what will it mean for existing crypto ETFs? Joining us now is Steven McClurg, CIO at Valkyrie. Steven, thanks so much for joining the show.
Hey, Caroline, thanks so much for having me.
All right, so you have the Bitcoin miners ETF, ticker symbol WGMI, enjoying a nice bounce this year, up about 130% year to date. Why are the miners a good way to approach crypto investing?
Well, it's very similar to the old gold miners or silver miners versus gold and silver, where these are actual businesses that have cash flows that it's a little easier for financial advisors to get behind. It's also easier for people to get behind because not only are they mining for Bitcoin, which is really data centers running, but they're also managing energy costs. They're also producing energy in a lot of ways and helping with the grid. So there's a lot of complexities to Bitcoin miners that a lot of people don't realize. But it's also in some ways, it can be a levered play on Bitcoin itself.
All right. How significant is the spot ETF race for Bitcoin and also for your ETF?
Yeah, so it's very significant for any type of miners because once a spot Bitcoin ETF is approved and launched, number one, it brings more recognition to Bitcoin itself. It brings more investors into it, which makes the Bitcoin miners even more valuable in a lot of ways. So in that case, a lot of investors are looking at Bitcoin miners as a way to play Bitcoin until that Bitcoin spot comes out. But more importantly is Bitcoin miners, the companies, can actually hedge their Bitcoin production. And they can do this once a Bitcoin spot ETF comes out more easily by utilizing call options for the ETF.
What is your forecast for Bitcoin? How high is it going? And it's also seen a nice pop this year, but still well off those earlier highs.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Did you guys lose me for a second?
Okay, can you hear me? I was just wondering what your Bitcoin forecast is. It's well off the highs, but has seen a nice pop. How high do you think it's going, especially once these spot ETFs come into the play?
Yeah, I really see a Bitcoin price staying around 35,000 for at least a short period of time. But as we get closer to a release date and we get closer to the halving, which is happening next year, I do expect Bitcoin price to double over the next 3 to 4 months and potentially be as high as 100,000 by the end of next year.
I couldn't tell if you were just trying to avoid my question or if you really couldn't hear me, but let's bring Ether into the mix as well because you have the Bitcoin and Ether strategy ETF as well. Tell us more about this fund.
Yeah, so what's interesting about Ether versus Bitcoin is Ether seems to be a lot more of a retail type product. So I don't expect it to be as big when it comes to eventually a spot ETF as well. There's a lot of applications in for it right now. But as far as Bitcoin and Ether futures, what we're trying to do is manage those two things together so that we actively manage that fund and we can allocate to either one throughout the month based on where we see more potential in the market. Which right now we see Bitcoin as really the bigger opportunity.
Yeah, what other cryptocurrencies should be on our radar outside of Bitcoin, though?
Really Bitcoin, in my opinion, is the clear winner as far as a currency goes. So we're really focused on Bitcoin when it comes to that. The way to think about Ethereum and some other protocol tokens is that, a lot of people understand the concept of having an iPhone and the apps or applications that you have on the iPhone. And when you think about applications globally that people use on their phone, a developer can essentially charge a price for the application usage. And when do you charge it? And you charge it in dollars or British pounds or euros. Really, it's a currency like Ether or some other types of protocols that you use for those applications. So it really is a very different thing than Bitcoin. It's really application based. So in terms of currency, outside of Bitcoin, really the only other thing that I look at is Litecoin.
All right, and just quickly, do you actually see a day that people are using Bitcoin as currency, actually paying for things with Bitcoin? Because we just haven't seen it yet. And if Bitcoin's going to double in your mind, say next year, why would I want to use it now?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you that I use Bitcoin today as a currency. So I'm sitting live at Bitcoin Park in Nashville, and the only way that you can buy things in their store is through Bitcoin. So I have an application on my phone where I scan it through the Lightning Network, and I can buy sodas or water or coffee or snacks when I'm here working on the days that I work here, and I can buy it directly with Bitcoin. The art behind me was purchased with Bitcoin. I've got paintings in my home that people have sold me for Bitcoin as well. So I do use it on a regular basis, and I do start seeing other people do it as well. Not so much in the U.S., but certainly in other countries like El Salvador.
All right, I stand corrected. I guess it's just me that's not using Bitcoin as currency. Steven McClurg, CIO at Valkyrie, thanks so much.
Thanks so much for having me.